Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my VCT World Power Rankings. I'm going to be going through all 33 teams from the Americas, EMEA, and Pacific Leagues. I'm not going to be doing any Chinese teams. I'll talk a little bit about EG, but they're not in this tier list, so I can't add them in. I don't think, at least. And if I can, I don't know how, and I don't feel like doing it, so whatever. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna go through all the teams, talk about them a little bit. I'm not gonna go as in depth as I did during the full power rankings videos, just because those videos were already 30 minutes long, and I don't want this video to be an hour and a half of me going through every team in depth. So I'll talk a little bit about them and everything like that. Doing a Probably going through all of my player rankings, just going through every player in every role and how good they are and everything like that. I might do like it per region just to have every video. Um, but I'm going to be updating those on Twitter throughout the season. I might add them into videos here and there. Not sure, but I will be updating power rankings every week during all the leagues. Um, I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to do separate videos for that or if I'm just going to do one video a week. We'll have to see exactly how it works out. But yeah, I think that's it. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Oh, yeah, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Let me know what you think of the list and everything like that. Go check out the other videos if you want more in-depth analysis on each team. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, as I've done, we'll start at the bottom with the worst team in all of VCT, in my opinion. And it's going to be Team Heretics, who they just don't have a good roster. I don't think they really have any big piece to build around. Like Benji is fine. Patatek and Woot are fine, I think, but everybody else is just bad. And I think they need to be replaced. And this roster they're just gonna have a bad year. Then we have Global, who I think are in a similar boat, except Blaze King I like a lot better, except he's not playing the right role. So it's just I don't know how much impact he's going to have on that team. I think it'll end up getting them over Heretics, but it's not going to be pretty for any of these teams in this bottom tier. And then BBL, I think could definitely outperform my expectations. I'm not super familiar with any of the players. I've watched all of them, but eh, like I don't know. I don't know exactly how this team is going to gel together, and if this is like way off consensus for a lot of people. I don't see this team being too good. I think they could have definitely made some better moves in the offseason to get a lot better. And then we have Koi. Where are they here? Right there. And yeah, they're also just bad. I mean, they just made a swap out. They swapped out their best player in Trex, in my opinion, and brought in Gerbino, which kind of make the roles make a little bit more sense. But I also liked it when Starzo was playing Smokes better than when like anybody else was. So I don't really get that, but I guess like Koi is fine here. Like I mean, not fine. They're bad, but they'll be better than these teams. But I like Rubinho, but I don't really get that change. I think they should have just maybe made a transfer window change and let that team ride out. Maybe there was some other factors. Maybe Shrex just wanted to leave. We don't know. And then next up here we have Gentle Mates, um, the the first Ascension team in this list. I mean, they overperformed in the last two games of Ascension. They were kind of mid the whole year. I mean, I guess they were good in France and then good in Ascension, but they weren't like that good up until the final stretch of games. So, how much are they going to keep that up? How much do we expect them to keep that up? Like, I don't see this team keeping up their form. Obviously, they'll be fine, I think, because they have some good players. And oh my God, what's his name? I need to pull up their VLR page. Takas, yes, that's what his name is. I didn't even pull it up yet, but yeah, he's a very good duelist player. Some of the other players are solid, but nothing too special here. And then DFM, I don't hate this roster. I think they'll be better than last year. I don't think they're going to go 0-9. Clearly, as I've rated them above the some other or a other Pacific team in global. Um, I believe in May. I believe in JoJo. The rest of the roster, I do have some questions about. I think Suggest played decently on the Sentinel, but everybody else, Papagacci and Neth, like, Um, I think the team could be okay, but I really don't see this team doing too much, even though I do believe in some of the pieces. And then another team similar to that, MIBR, who I put in this bad tier in the Americas video. I think all these teams were in that, maybe except Gentlemates. I think Gentlemates was a tier up. Um, yeah, I just, again, can't see this team doing too well. I believe in RGL. I believe in Art Scene. I think that's all I believe in on this team, right? I think FRZ was fine when I've watched him on Sentinel. But other than that, I don't think the team is very good. And I think you're going to see them do maybe something similar to what they did in Americas last year. And then that's it for the bad tier. Now on to the upset teams, where we're going to start with Talon, who have looked terrible so far in the one off-season event they played. But I actually do believe in the pieces here. Not exactly sure how much they're going to gel. I don't really trust this team after both the offseason event that they played and last year when they started off so hot and then kind of tapered off. Like they have a similar, I think, if not the same coaching staff here. Some of the same pieces from last year in Cruz and Jit Boys, but I do believe in Governor and Ban. Lene, I have some questions about, but other than that, I think this team is going to be okay. I think they'll probably be something similar to what they were last year, but maybe more, maybe like more consistently inconsistent, if that makes sense. Like they do it throughout the whole year instead of just starting really well and then tapering off. Then we have, Carmine Core. I'm thought about changing this, but no, I think we're gonna keep Carmine Core here. I think this team has potential. They have a lot of young talent. They'll probably be fairly inconsistent, but I think they can take some games off some top teams. Maybe your Vitalities while they're getting their shit together. Liquid, maybe Foot or Giants, like teams like that. I think they can take games off of. I don't think they would take games off them consistently, but I think it's possible to beat them. And Navi as well fits into that. I don't think they'll be good enough to beat Fnatic or Foot on any given day, but I think they'll still be very good. Or they'll have games where they are just smoking people, hitting every shot, everything like that. Then we have Furia, who I originally had in this next tier, along with the team ahead of them, but I ended up dropping them down just because I think they're going to be more inconsistent than anything. Furia here, gotta bring up the VLR page, just so I remember. I believe in Havoc. I believe in do I believe in MW? Not particularly, honestly. I'm a lot lower on MW than most people. I don't think he's gonna be able to carry this team to wins. I think there will be games where he pops off, and really helps. Like he'll drop 30 on any given map and they'll just win. Havoc's going to really help them. He's a great flex player. Khalil is a Sentinel player that could pop off at any given moment. I think this team is going to be something similar to what they were last year, but just worse. If that makes sense. And then we got Crew coming in here, which I think is going to be very similar to Fury. I think they could take some games off some top teams, kind of like they did last year at LCQ. If Kesnet pops off, if Melzer's IGLing very well, if what else? Sorry. If Klaus is popping off like he did at LCQ, if Shy is popping off like he did at LCQ, like I think this team will be a little bit more consistent than Furia, but I think they have higher highs as well. And then now we're on to teams. We're gonna do our mid, good, and great teams. I had to go get a drink of water in between, but we're gonna start here with our first mid team, Team Secret, who I think are just gonna be the definition of mid this year. They went into last year, they had a bunch of great game plans, no like real superstar player. I think maybe Envy could become that this year. NDG seems like a decent signing, playing Sentinel. There was some tournament that they were going to play in. I might end up watching that. I don't know if it already happened or not. I don't even remember when it happened. But yeah, I think they'll be a decent team this year and take some games off some teams here and there, but generally just beat up on teams below them, I think. Um, and then a team that's going to be the exact opposite of that, we have Genji, who is going to, I mean, has an insanely high ceiling. I think they would fit more into like the category of upset teams, but I think they're better than Team Secret and the teams below them. So I'm going to write them here. I think they're going to be a lot more consistent. I really like Texture on the Duelist. I really, really, really like Karen. From what I've seen in the offseason events, obviously that could just be a outlier performance for him. Um, but overall, I think this team should be very, very, not maybe not very, very solid, but like consistently inconsistent, like we were talking about with one of these other teams. I actually don't remember who it was. Talon. Like I think they should be um, better than Talon. I think they'll be a little bit more consistent than them, and probably some higher ceilings because I just really like some of these players on Genji. And then now on to EG, who I have next here. People were saying I was putting them too high in the last video. Like they have a bunch of good players. Like they have Jogamo, who's going to be very good on the Duelist. Maybe not as good of an opper, but still very solid. Definitely a better raise player. They're not going to have to switch between that now. Nature, who I think really hasn't gotten a fair shot on a team to IGL. He's been hyped up by coaches like MCE, who, I mean, by all means, he can give his opinion on anyone, and I'll say he's correct. Derek, who I think is a solid initiator player. I think he maybe was a little bit overhated. He needed to be replaced on 100 Thieves. I think that was a given, but I think he's probably the highest floor option here for this team. Apoth coming in familiar with Jogamo and Potter. I think that's a solid signing. And then Superman, who is a super inconsistent smokes player, but my God, when he's on, he is on. Um, yeah, I mean, he's one of the best smokes players in America's when he is playing very well, but when he's not, yeah, he doesn't really do too much. Um, and yeah, I think that's pretty much. I think EG's probably gonna ride or die on him. Um, and I think the rest of the roster should be fairly consistent. Apoth, I have some questions about, but I think this team will be kind of like Team Secret, just beat up on the teams below them, and on any given day they could um, maybe take some games off of your Cloud9s, 100 Thieves, G2s, teams like that. I don't think they'll be able to beat like Loud, Sen, or NRG, but I mean, Potter can do anything with any roster. They're getting a huge buff from her, so that's why they're rated so highly. It's Potter and Jogamo, mainly Potter. And the next up in our good teams here, we're gonna start with Bleed. I think there's potential for them to go up a tier or down a tier. I don't think they're going to go too much higher. Maybe they could sneak into this tier if like Ye is playing super well, Darion's playing super well. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't have the most faith in Ye to get back into form, but I don't think it's impossible. And then next up, we have RRQ ahead of Bleed, who is just another team that's going to have to figure some stuff out probably at the beginning of the year. Jemkin's really good. I think the rest of this roster is pretty solid. Is going to give them a high floor on any given week, and then Jemkin's going to push them over the top to kind of make them a great team or potentially a great team on any given week. I don't know about this team like winning Pacific or anything. I think there's going to be some predictions for that. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's just people trying to be bold and give predictions that aren't going to happen. Then we have Liquid, who I think could fit more into the mid tier, or like by description, kind of like how I was saying Genji is going to be an upset team. But I just think this team's going to be pretty consistent. They're going to beat Carmine Core. They're going to beat Gentle Mates. They're going to beat Koi. And they're going to beat BBL and Heretics. They're going to get those wins. And then they're going to get beaten by Giants, Vitality, Foot, and Fnatic. And that's going to be their season. Like, maybe they beat Giants. But other than that, I don't see this team doing too much this year. And then we have DRX, who, I mean, made the roster changes of removing Zest and RB. Everybody knows about that. I think Flashback and Foxy are going to be better than people expect. I think Stacks is going to take a big boost by being able to play more of the Fade, the Sky, and the Sova that he's extremely good at. He's one of the best in the world on that role. He was IGLing a lot better when he was playing that, so I do have faith in this team, more so than most people. Obviously, they'll be worse than they normally are, but I think they can still make internationals with this team. Maybe not win them, but make them. Then next up, we have Giants. Just bringing in Redgar here kind of gives them more highs and more lows, I think. There's potential for this team to go and do, like, maybe beat Vitality, maybe beat Foot, but they're not beating Fnatic. But there's also potential for them to lose to, like, Liquid, Carmine Core, maybe. I don't really think they're going to lose to any of the bottom teams, but if Redgar's really playing bad, maybe. I could see it, but other than that, I don't think this team's going to be extremely good. Then we have T1, who I think has potential for any given week things to go extremely wrong, kind of like last year. But I think overall they'll be a fairly good team, make international events, do okay at them. But like with that roster of like Saya, Excurate, Izu, King, and Zeta, I thought this team could potentially punch up into these two tiers. And then this roster gives them a higher floor, but also a much lower ceiling, as I've talked about. Then you have Zeta, who are in these great teams tier. Sorry, I just kind of moved to the next tier without transitioning, just because I'm a genius at that. Yeah, I think they made some great moves in the offseason. We'll have to see how Urine plays. I think if he plays well, this team is going to move up in this tier. And yeah, I think they'll give Japanese Valorant some kind of hope for the first time since Reykjavik, pretty much. Then we have C9, who I think are going to be fairly consistent all year. Vanity is one of my favorite players. I love how he calls. I love his read on the meta. I just love his like mentality of the game. It leads to some volatility, I think. But I think generally they will be fairly consistent and beat most of these teams. Obviously, he's never really played in a season format since he got cut. When was it? After lock-in, it was. Sorry. And I mean, he played some of the season format stuff that they did in NA, so I guess that really counts. So I don't know. I don't know if it counts or not, but yeah. I think C9 will be good. I like Oxy. I like Zeppa. I like Jake. I like Whippy. I like Vanity. Like I like all their players. I'm not huge on any of them except for maybe Oxy. And he's the reason that they're in this tier. I think they'd probably be down here if I didn't believe in the upside there. And then we have Vitality, who are a little bit weird. I think the vibes with this team should be similar to the vibes with Leviathan in terms of like before the year we expected them to be something. I think Vitality are a team that were going to be good. Like I was very confident in that, but had potential to be great and even like one of the best teams in the world that year. And then they make a weird roster change with subbing out Destrian for Trex, kind of similar to Leviathan swapping out Nazwar for Calm, except I mean I think that's a actual massive upgrade. I don't know if Trex is even an upgrade here just because the roles are so weird. I'm sure they'll figure that out though, and I think everything's gonna be fine. but there are some question marks there for me, in my opinion. And then we have 100 Thieves, who are my favorite team. I think Bustio, as I've said, is just the perfect fit for this team. They need an IGL, they need a Sentinel player, they need somebody who can inject energy into this team. And yeah, I think he is exactly that. He is the vibes guy. He is what Sentinels got in Celsius, pretty much, except he's also an IGL. So yeah, I don't know. 100 Thieves, I think, are going to be very good. I like EU. I like Asuna. I think Cryo is going to be good on the op role. I think when Asuna plays the Raze, if Cryo can somehow get on the Chamber on most maps, I think Lotus is going to switch more to that. So that'll be good for him. My only concern really is Bustio playing Viper, because I don't remember the last time I've seen him play Viper, but I think he'll be fine. He's played a bunch of different stuff, and I think Viper should be no different for him. Then, lastly, here in this great teams tier, we have G2, who I think have probably the highest floor in all of Americas. That might be a hot take, but I think there's potential for 4 teams ahead of them in Americas to flop. I just think when you have players like Trent, Valen, and Leaf pretty much in the regular season, they will be good. They'll go like 6. Wait, no. They're playing against 10 teams. So yeah, it'd be like 7-3 probably. Something like that. They'll just smoke some teams. They won't lose to any bad teams. But I do have kind of concerns with this team in playoffs. They've already had choking issues in the past. Leaf, I think, has had some choking issues individually. And yeah, this team I have faith in, but I don't think people are putting enough stock in the fact that they were not dominant in Tier 2 last year. They were very good, and they won, but they weren't clearly better than M80 all year. There were points where MXM was beating them, where G2, the like Oxy Shazam Whippy team, was beating them. Like, I don't know. I think this team will be good, but I do have some questions. All right, and now onto our last 2 tiers here with teams that could win events, potentially, and then teams that I think, honestly, the expectation is that this team should win an event, or these teams, because there's 2. But yeah, we're going to start here with Navi, who brought an artist in the offseason. I think this team has an extremely high floor. I think they have the highest floor out of every team outside of Fnatic. And yeah, I think they'll be good. And that's that. Like, they'll be good. I don't know how great they'll be, but they'll be good. I don't know. I just said that like 4 times, but it gets the point across. And then we have Foot, who I have a little less faith will be like, or like I have a little more concern that they'll be bad. But they won't be like bad here kind of thing. It'll be like in here if they're not good. But I have so much faith that this team like is going to be able to punch up in EMEA, maybe take a game off Fnatic. I don't know if they're going to be better than Fnatic. They shouldn't be. But CNED, any given game can just win you it. Yedije was probably the pickup of the offseason. I think he was definitely the biggest surprise for me. Extremely good player. Add captain, I think, is one of the most underrated players in the world. Fallen is a good IGL. Don't know how great he is if they can win events with him. That's why they're in this tier. But still very good. And then Cracks is cracked. If he can continue to expand his agent pool, I think this team will be sick. Then the infamous Sentinels placement. People kept telling me to move them up, but this team isn't. I don't want to say this team isn't that good, because they are that good. They have Zekin, who I have is rated one of the top players in all of America's. One of the players that I'm highest on. Tens, who's been playing a lot of shit for this team, including Omen, which I did not expect. And he's looked very, very good on most of the stuff. I think there would be concerns with him playing like Sky and stuff, but overall, I think he's looked very good. I think one of the things I've kind of forgotten to talk about, but is definitely an opinion of mine. I think this team will be the best bind team in the world. It's going to be similar to EG Fracture, kind of thing where teams are going to ban it against them instead of the permaban, which is going to be a huge advantage for this team. And yeah, John Cutie, great pickup, arguably perfect pickup, similar to 100 Thieves. I don't think he was as perfect, but he was exactly what this team needed. Just a pure caller, somebody who can do all of the IGLing stuff, kind of fit in with Kaplan, especially former teammates as well, before Sentinels. And yeah, just very, very good team. And then a team that I do have a little bit more faith in will be in this tier at the end of the year is Loud. That's not Loud. Now, I don't have as much faith that they're going to be like up here or anything. Like I think there's a higher chance Sentinels move up than Loud move up. Just because I don't know exactly what's going on with Loud's duelist situation, whether it's going to be QCK or whether it's going to be Tui's. I'm assuming it's going to be QCK. I'm not sure if I love that, but I just have too much faith in Sadok to rate this team like down here. I feel like that would just be stupid. But yeah, losing Osbus is a big deal, but I think they'll find a way. Like, I mean, they were what, 90%, if not 90% of what they were in 2022 and 2023, if not better, without Sasi and Pankata, two of the biggest pieces there. And they still have Lessier, they still have Sadok. Cowanzine and Tui's are very good players. I think maybe not no matter how bad QCK is, but as long as QCK isn't like Artists on NRG bad, I think this team will be fine. Then we have Paper Rex, who I originally had them and this next team in the top tier, but I moved them down just because there's too many question marks with both of them, especially the Mind Freak Initiator. I went through a lot of stuff in the Pacific player rankings video, or not player rankings, power rankings video, kind of detailing the questions I have with Mind Freak and the roles on this team. I think they'll figure it out, which is why they're this high still, but I think initially they are not gonna be playing very well. I think there's a good chance they bomb out of the first tournament, but I think the rest of the year will be Paper Rex standards for them, and they'll figure everything out. Then we have Leviathan, who I think are not quite a super team, but close to it. I do have some questions with the team gelling together, but overall, Aspas, GOAT. King is going to really improve as an IGL, I think, and is an insane individual. Calm, also GOAT. Maybe not quite of a GOAT, but quite as a GOAT as Aspas is, but still very good. I do have some questions if he's going to keep up the champs form that he was in, but I think if he plays 80 to 90% of that, I think he'll be fine. This team will be fine. I do have concerns with who's playing Sky here, though, whether it's going to be him or King. Either way, I'm concerned. Because I really like King's Viper. And I also really like Calm's Viper, but they both can't play it at the same time. So we don't know. Tex, I think, will be good. Just injects a lot of firepower into this team, especially if he's playing Chamber. He's honestly one of the best Chamber players in the world. And I know that sounds crazy, but just go back and watch him at an NALCQ in 2022. He was farming people. He looked kind of like Ye in ways. I think he was probably the third best, or no, he was the fourth best Chamber player in NA, but he was like up there in the world with how good he was. Just because Dicey, Cryo, and Ye were above him at that time, but still very good. And then Mizzino, I do have questions about, which is also another reason they're in this tier. But but I still think he'll be good enough in all of that. Then in this top tier, I've gone back and forth with the order that I want to put these teams in, but I'm going to keep it Fnatic 1 and NRG 2. I think that just makes the most sense. Energy, there's a little bit more questions with like the IGLing stuff, but I think if their players gel and Ethan is a good enough IGL, if he's even a good IGL, this team will be in this tier all year. Yeah, I mean, they have 5 world-class players. When you have, in my opinion, the best duelist in Americas, the best flex player in Americas, the best initiator player, and the best smokes player, you got a good team there. Like, they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. Victor's going to be a good Sentinel player when he plays it. And yeah, overall, just great team. And then Fnatic, everybody knows Fnatic. Obviously, there are some questions with their coaching, whether or not that's going to work out. But again, I think that'll be fine. So those are my world power rankings. I'll be updating these throughout the year. Don't know if I'm going to exactly do it in like separate videos for individual regions or just all regions in one. I think it'll probably just be something like updating this tier list or something like that. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the list in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Go follow me on Twitter, even though actually this will be coming out after I was gonna say I might just be tweeting about the Packers playoff game, but I'm recording this well in advance of that, so this will come out way after that. It'll probably be a week after. I still might be tweeting about the next Packers playoff game if they win, so this will be sad including this in the video if they don't. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.